Hey, this is Derek Whatley. In Migration Toolkit for Containers 1.4, we've done some work to enhance the rollback experience when something goes wrong with your migration, and we've also spent some time trying to make it easier to recover from a failed migration, reducing the cleanup that you have to do before making your next migration attempt. Let's take a look at these new features by doing a sample migration and simulating a failure, running another migration that will automatically clean up from that failure. Finally, we'll roll back the completed migration and then run it all again. So we have a plan here that is going to migrate a namespace called Nginx persistent volume 30. There's 34 resources and 2 PVCs in this namespace, and I'm going to go ahead and click the migrate button. To simulate a situation where the migration perhaps gets stuck and needs to be deleted manually, I'm just deleting the migration here in the middle of the process, and we'll see how that gets cleaned up automatically on the next migration attempt. This is a pretty typical case that you might see if you were to have to abort a migration during the Valero restore. So you can see we have this stage pod running here. We have a stage pod on our source cluster, and our actual application is quiesced, meaning that it's not running on the source cluster. So to deal with this, let's actually, now that I've deleted the MIG migration, I can go back to the web UI and I can hit the migrate button again. And because of the changes that we've implemented in MTC 1.4, the stage pods will automatically be cleaned up and the application will automatically be unquiesced when it lands on the destination cluster. This is another change. We delete any incomplete Valero backups and restores that were created by past migration attempts. And if we need to, we'll restart the Valero pods. So here you can see that we are automatically terminating any leftover stage pods. This is one of the cleanup mechanisms that's needed for the next migration attempt to be successful. And now you can see that the stage pods have been deleted on this end, and the stage pod is gone on this end as well. One of the scenarios that we handle in MTC 1.4 that we didn't handle before was a case where the first migration attempt fails and leaves your applications quiesced on the source cluster. In this case, we need to make sure that the application is started back up when it lands on the destination cluster, or that it's made available again after a rollback is performed. So right here, what we'll see is that even though the app was at 0 replicas when we started this migration, the second attempt, it's going to get restored to its original replica count on the destination cluster after restore is complete. So we can notice that the app that got restored to our target cluster has 0 replicas when it lands there, but the new unquiesced destination applications step handles this, and you can see that now the deployment has been scaled back up to its original replica count. This way your app is always running the way it was on the source cluster when it lands on the destination. So now that this second migration attempt has succeeded, we're going to perform a rollback migration that's going to remove everything that's been migrated by this migration plan so far and put it back the way it was on the source cluster before this plan started doing any work. You can see that the migrated application is being deleted, and we have our pod terminating here. Now that everything is removed from this namespace on the destination, the last thing we'll look for is the original replica count being restored on the source cluster. And here we can see that the original replica count is restored on the source cluster, and now the app is just like it was before we started doing any work. The next thing we'll do is delete all of our migrations, and we're going to start fresh again, just showing that you can migrate, roll back, and migrate again all day long. This is a little bit sped up, but as you can see, the end result is a completed migration and your app is safely on the destination cluster.